Thank you for your interest in our 2023 Southwestern Psychological Association Convention talk. The title of our talk is Can the Words People Use to Answer Ordinary Questions Reveal Childhood Sexual Abuse? My name is Sember and I'm one of the researchers on this research study. The other researchers contributing to this research study are Ginger Smith and Dr. Don Lucas. This study was conducted at Northwest Vista College in San Antonio, Texas. Let me begin with putting some numbers in your head. Some extraordinary but true numbers. About 4 million people will be born in the United States this year, and of these 4 million people, more than 10% of them, that is 400,000 of them, will be sexually abused before their 18th birthday. Of these 400,000 Americans, less than 20% of them will report the sexual abuse. Not surprisingly, childhood sexual abuse is traumatic and has significant potential short-term and long-term consequences. Short-term can range from genital bleeding to having troubles in school, while long-term consequences can range from having unhealthy romantic relationships, even all the way up to suicidal ideation. These consequences can be mediated, but are most likely to be mediated only after the childhood sexual abuse is reported. Mediators can include coping skills, interpretation of experiences, and even school resources. This brings us to the basic curiosity driving this current study. Is it possible to increase the number of people reporting their childhood sexual abuse? If this is possible, then more people who've been sexually abused during their childhood will be able to mediate the potential consequences of their abuse. The present study explored our basic curiosity by testing if it's possible for a computer-based text analysis program to determine whether a person was sexually abused during childhood. We did this by using a sample of participants in which we had already known were sexually abused during their childhood.
We had community college students complete a 106-question digital survey. The survey was composed of 6 types of questions: demographic, lie, reliability, childhood sexual abuse, consequence, and mediator questions. Of the 406 community college students who completed the survey, 346 of them passed the lie and reliability tests. Of these 346 students, 117 were determined to have been sexually abused in their childhood, whereas 229 were determined to not have been sexually abused in their childhood. We used 7 of the 106 questions on the survey to determine if a student was sexually abused in childhood. If there was an affirmative answer to one or more of these questions, then the student was determined as being sexually abused in childhood. For example, if a student answered yes to the question, between birth and 17 years of age, did you ever have a sexual experience with someone 5 years or older than you, then they were determined as being sexually abused in childhood. Or if a student answered yes to the question, between birth and 17 years of age, did you ever have a sexual experience with someone you considered a caregiver, then they were determined as being sexually abused in childhood. We analyzed the answers students who were sexually abused in childhood, as well as those who were not sexually abused in childhood, gave to 5 open-ended questions. These questions are: write 3 words that best describe your home environment from your birth to 17 years of age. Write 3 words that best describe what a man is. Write 3 words that best describe what a woman is. Write 3 words that best describe your romantic relationships. And write 3 words that best describe your definition of sexuality. Note, these questions are relatively ordinary. None of these questions are about abuse or trauma, and only one of these questions is about sex or sexuality.
We analyzed students' answers using linguistic inquiry and word count, version 22, or simply LIWC. Created in 1993, LIWC is a scientifically validated, computer-based text analysis program that has been used in more than 20,000 research articles. Having 4 categories: summary variables, linguistic dimensions, psychological processes, and an expanded dictionary, LIWC analyzes 110 dimensions of language. We used 10 of LIWC's dimensions to analyze students' answers. These dimensions are affect, positive tone, negative tone, emotion, positive emotion, negative emotion, social processes, social behavior, prosocial, and sexual. LIWC calculates these dimensions relative to a dictionary of words for the dimension. The more words a person says that match the words within LIWC's dimensional dictionary, the higher that person's dimensional score. For example, The words good, well, new, and love are 4 of the 1,020 words within LIWC's Dimensional Dictionary for Positive Tone. If a participant in our study answered one of the 5 questions with the words bad, hate, love, then they would have a positive tone dimensional score of 33%. One of the 3 words they said, that is 33%, was in the positive tone dictionary. This same answer would yield a score of 66% on the negative tone dimension, because 2 of the 3 words the participant used in their answer are in LIWC's Dimensional Dictionary for Negative Tone.
So, what did we find? We'll cover the results one question at a time. To begin, the 117 participants who were sexually abused in childhood, now on referred to as CSA participants, gave 57 different answers to the question, write 3 words that best describe your home environment from birth to 17 years of age. Whereas the 229 participants who were not sexually abused in childhood, now referred to as no CSA participants, gave 72 different answers. Their top 3 most frequent answers differed. Both groups of participants gave loving as their most frequent response, but then CSA participants said chaotic and toxic as their next most frequent answers, whereas the no CSA participants followed loving with the answers safe and fun. LIWC found 3 of the 10 language dimensions to significantly differ between the answers given by the CSA and the no CSA participants for the question, write 3 words that best describe your home environment from your birth to 17 years of age. CSA participants gave significantly less positive tone, positive emotion, and pro-social words in their answers. The 117 CSA participants gave 48 different answers to the question, write 3 words that best describe what a man is, whereas the 229 no CSA participants gave 85 different answers. Their top 3 most frequent answers did not differ. Both group of participants gave strong as their most frequent response, followed by caring and protector. LIWC found 2 of the 10 language dimensions to significantly differ between the answers given by the CSA and the no CSA participants for the question, write 3 words that best describe what a man is. CSA participants gave significantly less positive tone and pro-social words in their answers. The 117 CSA participants gave 40 different answers to the question, write 3 words that best describe what a woman is, whereas the 229 no CSA participants gave 65 different answers. Their top 3 most frequent answers did not differ. Both groups of participants gave strong as their most frequent response, followed by caring and independent. LIWC found 1 of the 10 language dimensions to significantly differ between the answers given by the CSA and the no CSA participants for the question, write 3 words that best describe what a woman is. CSA participants gave significantly less positive emotion words in their answers. The 117 CSA participants gave 57 different answers to the question, write 3 words that best describe your romantic relationships, whereas the 229 no CSA participants gave 75 different answers. Their top 3 most frequent answers substantially differed. Both groups of participants gave loving and fun within their top 3, but the 3rd most frequent answer for the CSA participants was toxic, whereas for the no CSA participants, it was happy. LIWC found 3 of the 10 language dimensions to significantly differ between the answers given by the CSA and the no CSA participants for the question, write 3 words that best describe your romantic relationships. CSA participants gave significantly more negative tone words in their answers and significantly less social behavior and social processes words in their answers. The 117 CSA participants gave 50 different answers to the question, write 3 words that best describe your definition of sexuality, whereas the 229 no CSA participants gave 90 different answers. Their top 3 most frequent answers slightly differed. Both groups of participants gave open within their top 3, but the CSA participants included attraction and free, whereas the no CSA participants included loving and fluid. LIWC found none of the 10 language dimensions to significantly differ between the answers given by the CSA and the no CSA participants for the question, write 3 words that best describe your definition of sexuality.
Sexual abuse is a childhood epidemic. For comparison, less than 20 out of every 100,000 children will get cancer. Despite these epidemic numbers, and for a variety of reasons, only a fraction of sexually abused children report it. Without reporting and without awareness, childhood sexual abuse is much more likely to have long-term consequences. The present study found analyzing the psychological value of the words people use to answer ordinary questions can reveal childhood sexual abuse, and thereby may be used as a tool to increase the number of people reporting their abuse. Specifically, the present study found people who are sexually abused in childhood use significantly different positive tone, negative tone, positive emotion, prosocial, social behavior, and social processes in the words they use to answer ordinary questions. Generally, those who were sexually abused in childhood tend to use less positive value words than those who were not sexually abused in childhood. To be clear on this point, the present study did not find those who were sexually abused in childhood to be more negative in their tone or emotion, but instead just less positive. The present results are evidence for psychoanalytic theories about childhood sexual trauma being reflected in language usage, especially when the language is not intentionally monitored by the speaker. Indeed, we never asked our participants directly about their sexual abuse. The closest we came is when we asked them to define their sexuality, which in fact was the only question whose answers did not significantly differ between those who were sexually abused during childhood to those who were not sexually abused during childhood. These results must be viewed relative to several limitations in this study, the first being the limited number of dimensions we use to analyze participants' answers. Future research should take greater advantage of more than 100 dimensions LIWC 22 allows words to be analyzed by. The second limitation is how we gathered the participants to be a part of this study. Our sample was a sample of convenience relative to the professors who answered our emails and allowed our students to participate. The third limitation is this is a retrospective correlational study. Although we found statistically significant differences between how those who were sexually abused during childhood answered questions and those who were not sexually abused in childhood answered questions, the present study design does not allow us to say these differences were because of childhood sexual abuse. Lastly, this is the first study of its kind, thus the present results have yet to be replicated. Despite the limitations of this study, I want you to imagine 3 things with me. Imagine a clinician in a therapy session with a client. The client they suspect was sexually abused during childhood. The therapy session is guided by simple, non-triggering questions, and the answers the client gives to these questions are recorded and then analyzed by a computer-based text analysis program which probabilistically determines if the client was sexually abused as a child. Or imagine a client suspected on being sexually abused during childhood being prescribed a computer program. The client on their own sits with the program that's posing ordinary, non-triggering questions for the client to answer. The computer program then compares the client's answers to the answers of those known to have been sexually abused in childhood and returns to the client a probability value of whether they have been sexually abused in childhood. Lastly, imagine the client as a child sitting with themselves in front of a clinician-prescribed computer program. The clinician suspects their child client is being sexually abused. The computer program is posing ordinary, non-triggering questions for the child to answer, and the computer is comparing the client's answers to the answers of those who have known to be sexually abused in childhood. The software returns to the clinician a probability value of whether their client is being sexually abused. All of this imagining is for one purpose: to objectively address, mediate, and put an end to the biggest epidemic facing children today: sexual abuse. Thank you for your time and interest in our research. If you have any further comments or questions about this study, then please do not hesitate in emailing Dr. Lucas at dlucas@alamo.edu.